Well, yeah, of course they've got a point. And I think that the rumours are that Tottenham are looking behind the scenes. It's not a public sale, like when Manchester United went out there and said we're having a strategic review of our options and we're looking to bring investment in. They've not said that. But the rumour mill around is that Tottenham are looking potentially for people to come and buy this club. Now, it'll be a big price, but it would be the right time probably in some ways, because I think what he's done here in building this stadium, getting the training ground right, the problem with him is he's not been able to leave the football side or detach the football side from himself, so that ultimately he just runs the business side, because he's obviously very good at that. He runs a pretty tight ship, and that's what you want at a football club. It's easy at a football club to get people who say yes, who get emotional about spending money. He's got to look after Tottenham and their long-term future, but he's also got to bring in an experts in the football department, and he always seems to obviously interfere in that and sort of be oppressive in the way in which he deals with that side of it. And that's a big problem, because a football club is a football club, and it's all about first-team performance. So the stadium's great. The training ground's great. That's what he can do. He can bring commercial revenue, make sure the NFL here, make sure Beyonce's here, as Jamie said before the game. And
she's here, there's someone looking forward to it.
There's loads of money coming into the club.
You're not getting a ticket.
Yeah, he's protected the long-term. He's protected the long-term future of the club from a point of view of revenue and things like that, which are really important. But they can't let go. It's a little bit like United when sort of David Gill and Sir Alex Ferguson left. The guys who were running the commercial side, who were doing a great job, come into the football side and think they can play football manager. And they can't. It's a completely different skill set.
The two sides of the argument are that financially, Spurs are doing incredibly well. They've got this stunning stadium. The training facilities have been improved. They would argue that they are also spending on bringing in players. And yet the fans' point of view is, well, why are we not seeing that on the pitch? If you're making this much money for the club and for your organisation, then why are we not seeing this reflected on the pitch?
I think it's the decision making as well. I think that on that banner there, would it say 16 managers in 24 years, something like that? There's been too much change in terms of that perspective, and every manager, Gary made a really good point. When the managers leave, Conte's second in his league, Nuno Espirito Santo third in the Premier League after really getting outed and certainly sent embarrassed while he was here. Conte's top of the Italian league. That in itself tells you everything. It can't keep being the manager's fault. So look, I've said the same things now, Kelly, about Daniel Levy and Tottenham for the last, 15 years or so. I've always felt the same things. There are aspects of it that he has. Of course, he's done a great job. Look at this stadium, etc. But Gary's right. I think sometimes you've got to leave the football decisions to people that understand those decisions, and making sure that when you're bringing players in, they're going to make your team better, because I think that's where they've gone a little bit wrong and they've fallen behind. Because what happens with Daniel as well, as soon as he comes under pressure, which he is now, the first thing he wants to do is say, fire the manager, because then that takes the pressure off him again. That can't keep having that firing culture, because it's just not going to bring success.
Which they haven't got at the moment, because before today's game, Spurs were in 15th. They have been on a really poor run of form, and they've stuck with.
And I think we've got a cup final. I think after last time when he sacked whatever we think about Jose, the greatest cup winner of all time was sacked before a final. That was absolutely crazy when you think about it, and they put in Ryan Mason in charge. I think this time they probably think, look, they can ram it all down our throats, and I include the chairman, the manager, all the criticism. Jamie Carragher said a few weeks ago, I was there, he said, Tottenham, they don't win a game. They don't win anything. When do they ever win a big game? Why can't they use that as their fuel to all of us and go and win something this year? And then all of a sudden, everyone will just go, oh, fair enough, what a great job.
As Jamie said, and I think you were about to allude to there, Gary, is that the fact that the managers who've gone previously have been much higher in the table than Ange Postecoglou is at this stage, whereas Postecoglou, before today's game, I think only Juan de Ramos had a lower points total over his previous 12 games. So it was a very poor run of form, with the mitigating circumstances that we've all discussed, but that Tottenham have pulled the trigger more quickly in previous seasons.
They have a model here which actually, to be fair, most football clubs in the country should be run by, and I include my own in that, in terms of I saw a graphic before that we had, I don't know if we can show it, that said that Tottenham's wage bill to their revenue was 42%. And all the other clubs in, I think...
We don't need to see it, you've just mentioned it. It's 42% of their revenue.
I know, but it's important to see it against the rest of the league in terms of the important to see it against the rest of the league. So this, I think, is a really important graphic and table. So Daniel Levy will be sat in his boardroom saying, I run my football club properly because my wages are in line with what my revenue is, which is how a business should be successfully run. The problem is with football, we've got this... model which is essentially broken. The Championship's bust. The rest of League One and League Two are struggling. Owners have to pump money in every single year to do it. And he's trying to run his football club like a proper business. However, the rest of football are spending 50, 60, 70, 80% of their revenues on wages, which means that they invest more at times. Now, they have invested a lot here, but he is actually running the business very well. And I said probably 7 or 8 years ago, he's the best operator of a football club in the game in terms of the business side of it, and he is. And that 42% there demonstrates that, because it means it's keeping his club sustainable. However, the problem he's got is that he's not able to create a successful football project, and that's all the fans care about. And he handles that side badly. So he's never been able to detach the business side from the football side and connect them together in a way which other people can solve. He should step away from the football side.
So what does that mean then? Because he clearly is sanctioning the spend on players, and Tottenham have spent money. They're the 3rd top net spenders since 2019. Yeah, so are you talking about who they're spending the money on?
You talk about recruitment, because I'm sure if you spoke to the chairman, he'll be like, well, I've mentioned before about best in class. You mentioned the training ground's unbelievable. You know, the academy coaches, you've got top academy coaches, you've got the stadium. You see the net spend here. So he'd probably be thinking, well, I've given you everything. You know, I've tried to get the top managers, Mourinho's or Conte's, winners, to try and get over the line. Under Poch came close, you know, Champions League final. So I can imagine, I mean, he would be hurt today seeing that. You know, the chairman, he comes here with his family, his wife, and his dad comes to the game sometimes. I can imagine, of course, I know at that level you have to be thick-skinned, but he's human at the end of the day. He'll be hurt by that, because he's probably looking at it thinking, I've given so much. Of course the fans want to see more. You know, this is a big football club. You know, last time I won a trophy was 2008. I mean, it's a long time, but at the same time, I do believe if you spoke to him, he'll be hurt because of what he's actually put into the club, you know.
What he hasn't got right, obviously, and it's obvious to say this because there's evidence there now over 10, 15 years, is he's not built the right culture and winning mentality throughout the football club. So he can obviously run a business. He's obviously extremely talented and intelligent.
So there's the winning
that.
mentality on that side of things. But what does that mean?
I think
a winning mentality on the football side.
Jamie knows a lot more than I do about what it's like to work with Daniel Levy, but I can only hear of what it's like to deal with him in terms of transfers, where people talk about, and it's quite challenging to deal with him. And if you're creating a culture and maybe it's a little bit oppressive, a little bit sort of suffocating for managers and making it a little bit difficult for them, he's thrown money. The Glazers be saying, we've thrown loads of money at it. Where's the trophies? It's not just about throwing money at something and expecting there to be trophies.
That comes back to Jermain's question. Well, is it recruitment then?
Well, no, you've got to create an environment for success, which means employing the right people, putting the right people in the jobs on the football side. He sacked a lot of sporting directors, by the way, as well.
Control, Gary. He has too much control.
So he's got that control mentality that's quite oppressive and suffocating for people underneath him, where they don't feel like they can thrive. Then that is your problem. So, yeah, we can say that he's a great businessman from a point of view of what he's achieved on the sustainability side, the stadium, the training ground, but he's not achieved it through a mentality. He's not developed a winning mentality in this business and in this football club, which is really important. So from that side, he's failed. And when you take first-team performance away from the heart of a football club, you basically need to leave a football club. It's the most important thing, first-team performance. And he doesn't, I think he just thinks putting money at it. He'll point towards that graphic and say, look what I've done. But the reality of it is he's got to create an environment for success, and Tottenham haven't had that under him.
Does that come from the players as well? So obviously you're playing the Man United team that dominated.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the slight problem as well, Jermain, is when I look at the players that they buy, good players, but a lot of them are hoping they're going to be stars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players that have become stars. I look at Kulusevski and Bentancur, 2 players that they bought in for relatively cheap money, you know, and they've become worth a lot more than what they are now. If you look at Solanke, they paid 65, but you're not guaranteed is he going to be a star? You don't know. Whenever they're in for a really big-name player, do I think that Tottenham are going to be the team that are going to get him? Are they going to go all out and maybe spend the big wages to get the names in here? And that's what I think is a turning point.
Just want to let everybody know that announcement was that the bars are closing in 30 minutes. So if you want to carry this conversation on in the bar, you've got 30 minutes in which to do it. But we'll probably still be on here. So
at other clubs, City, United, probably, you always felt you could get a player off Tottenham.
Yeah.
Whereas actually he's never created a position whereby, I think at this club now with this stadium and the revenues that they have, whereby when you're at Tottenham you feel like, no, you need to stay. Where Manchester City over the last 10, 12 years in the Abu Dhabi ownership, they've created a culture whereby players want to stay because they're winning. Now, that needs to be created here because Tottenham's a bigger club than Manchester City, let's be really clear. That's not controversial, by the way. When Manchester City were taking
Well,
over...
you say that.
When
I'd say it's quite controversial.
Right, yeah.
When Manchester City were taken over by Abu Dhabi 15 years ago, Tottenham were a far bigger football club.
Yeah.
So the idea that Tottenham historically have not been a bigger football club than Manchester City, absolutely they are. Now, City now, where they currently are right at the top of the game because they've invested in an amazing football project. They've done it brilliantly on and off the pitch. Daniel Levy's done it brilliantly off the pitch. He's not done it brilliantly on the pitch, and that's why he's behind Manchester City. But Tottenham as a historic football club is bigger than Manchester City. That's not a criticism of City. City have done incredibly well. They're an amazing football club now in terms of their wins and everything like that. But Tottenham historically are a bigger club. Let's be clear.
Well, Harry Kane was a great example last year when he was the stadium. You thought he could stay here, win things. He needed to leave because he knows the culture here. He's not going to win anything while he's here. And that tells you everything. He's one of their own. But Daniel felt probably, you know what, we'll get the right money for him. It's maybe good business.
But Bale left, Modric left.
Yeah, Berbatov every time.
Left, Carrick left. A lot of players have left.
But Harry was the one I felt this last few years, and I look at, I love Son, what he's done over the last few years. It's been incredible for this club. But even he looks a little bit frustrated right now because he think, am I going to win anything? But as I said, he might do, and that is a great opportunity because that's the beauty of football. They have one opportunity now. I mean, I still think they're going to have a decent end to the season. But if they win something, they can ram it down all of our throats.
No, but we'd love to see it, though.
Then they could win the Europa League.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. I mean, Gus spoke before about Tottenham. Like, love watching Tottenham play and what Adja's brought, and how they play. I mean, we would love to see it.
If United don't win the Europa League because they're still in it, I would love Tottenham to win the Europa League.
OK. Could be a final. Could be
Obviously,
Manchester United against
it,
Tottenham Hotspur in the final of the Europa League. But today, it was Tottenham who were on top in the Premier League.